Fantastic. So hi everyone, and thank you very much for clicking. Welcome to my channel. So I was hoping I could kind of use some of these videos to really kind of talk on quite a lot of the sort of major issues and sort of discussions that affect us as Nigerians. I'm Nigerian, by the way, but I'm also British at the same time because I've been here for just over a decade. But what I wanted to talk about today was the news around the UK now offering sort of 2-year post-study work visa as well, which I think for me is great to see. I've been sort of advocating for it for a very, very long time. I wanted this to happen, a long time ago, but for whatever reason, for sort of political reasons, it never actually happened. I was one of the sort of few people to kind of jump on the post-study work visa, as soon as I finished university, and I know how important that period of my life, being able to move from university to kind of post-study work, and now from that point, getting to where I am and, being able to kind of get work permit and, go through the gears as well, to where I am today as well, which is fantastic to see. But I think the real issue I wanted to tackle here was to do with the intent of why the UK government has brought this. So, I mean, over the last few years, I think it became inevitable. I think under Cameron's government, we had issues with, I think the temperature levels and the discussions and the discourse around immigration, went, a couple of decibels up. And, being an immigrant here in the United Kingdom almost felt like, you felt like a different person. You felt a little bit excluded because there was a constant discussion over a couple of years. Before, of course, 2016, when sort of Brexit became the dominant discussion, which is you'll probably notice has kind of put immigration to one side. It's like put it to the corner. So we had all of that, and the parties, the Conservative Party, for example, who were in power at the time, had all of these targets to reduce net migration across the board. They started with kind of the non-EEA population, so Africa and everywhere outside of the European Union. And after doing that with no real success, because it's very difficult if you set a number of eligibility criteria and people have to qualify for it, as long as people qualify, you can't really treat one person better than the other in any way. So the concept of reducing net migration was going to be very difficult to do so. And I think that pushed the discourse over to the sort of Europeans, to the European Union. And, the conversation started around trying to get a better deal with Europe, trying to stem the flow of migration from, other countries into the European Union and inevitably into the UK. And, of course, Brexit became the conversation after that. And then we got to this point. Again, bringing it back to what the discussion is. So the intent is one thing that concerns me particularly. So when I came here in 2007, there was a genuine intent to have students from all over the world, actually come to the United Kingdom to study, which was great to see. But over the years, the couple of years I was here, while I was at university, one thing that was what you could consider quite characteristic of the UK sort of immigration policy was that the UK immigration policy evolves quite regularly and quite quickly. And I'm talking in a matter of years. So you could be going through what used to be the UKBA website this year, and next year the policy is different and a number of things that will have an impact on you as well. So even if you set out to study a university course for 3 or 4 years, in 3 or 4 years you have to be actively sort of monitoring policy around immigration. And it's a very tiring thing to do, but it's a reality of immigration in the UK. Now, in 2018, the view is that, when you graduate from university, post-study work visa should be handed to you to allow you to look for work. And, like I said, for me, it worked. I think it's a great thing to bring back. But I guess the point I want to try and raise is that if you're a student, looking to pay your hard-earned currency, and, we know how difficult it is to get make your money in Nigeria and exchange money to either to euros or pounds. It's a lot of money that Nigerians spend to actually come and study here. If you're going to be doing that, my advice in reality is to kind of keep your options open. And that's my big advice. We've seen that over the last few years, a lot of Nigerians have, or Africans have kind of looked at the UK and said, you know what, we spend all of this money and it's not really attractive after studying for so long, then we have to go back home, where in reality there are not as many job opportunities, so it's more difficult to get on the kind of job kind of ladder as well. So it doesn't really work for us, because I could hold my money back here and do something different. So why do I look at places like Australia or Canada, for example? Canada seems to be the big one at the moment. It's more welcoming, has a more, what you can consider quite stable immigration policy, and has had a stable immigration policy over the last decade, if you'd like to say. And a lot of students are now kind of moving in that direction. I know certainly for Nigeria, I can't speak for other African countries, but I would assume it's the same as well. A lot of them have been moving in different directions. As a result of that, that's inevitably had an impact on the kind of UK sort of immigration as well, and had an impact on UK universities in terms of being able to continue to attract foreign students from all over the world as well, because they're all looking elsewhere and looking to other parts of Europe as well, because like I said, because of the kind of more stable immigration policy around it, and the opportunity to be able to go into work when you finish studying university. So inevitably, this is something that's really important for students. I think the UK government realizes it, and of course I welcome that, because I think it's really important. If I've spent a lot of money here, I should be given the opportunity to compete in a labour market, if I'm skilled to do so. However, coming back to the main point, the intention is what concerns me as well. And for that reason, and talking about the intention, let me focus quite quickly on the intention. So the UK, as you all know, is leaving the European Union. And to demonstrate that it remains kind of an open nation, an open place to go to for investors, for students, for talent, it needs to be seen to be looking out and to be looking outward and thinking sort of more globally. And as a result of that, I think it's important that that this policy was put in place, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. If you're not getting talent from the European Union, then where else do you get talent from? Not just that as well. The UK, when it leaves the European Union, will need to go into a billion gazillion bilateral sort of trade deals as well. It needs to do trade deals with nations, and for you to do trade deals with nations, you need to have some type of leverage. You need to soft land. You need to demonstrate that you're an open country, you're an open nation, you're open to do trade, and you're open to free movement of people and to some extent goods as well. So the UK is doing this as a as a carrot, as a sweetener, to say we're an open nation. We're not just looking at the European Union, but we're looking at this globally. But I guess for the students then, or parents of students who are paying university fees for the students, for the children, need to now start thinking carefully about why do you think that the UK is a safe destination at this point in regards to having a stable immigration policy, and in kind of regards to, say, in the long term, why do you think that in a year from now, if the UK government changes and decides to take a different approach to immigration, what happens then? How do you react to that? Do you have that certainty of investment, in the sense that when you send your child here to do a 1-year master's, they are going to be guaranteed that after 1 year, the opportunity to apply to go into post-study will be there, without further iterations to what the policy is and how you can get into it as well. I think the UK is, Home Office is quite notorious for doing this as well. It's very fast evolving and fast moving sort of immigration policy in general. And I guess my advice is not to discourage you from applying for studies in the UK with the intention of actually working, but just to say that you need to keep your options open. You need to keep your options open. I mean, if Canada offers better terms, and you need to look at Canada as well historically, for example, and say if Canada offers better terms, and I feel like there's a real opportunity for me, then absolutely. If it's Canada, then it has to be Canada. If it's the UK, and I can speak on behalf of the UK. The UK is a great place. There are really good opportunities here to kind of work and study. But the transition and the difficulties that an immigrant faces here in the UK to move from student's visa to post-study work to tier 2 visa and a work permit, the cost implication of that, and the emotional sort of implication of that as well is huge over time as well. And these are the things that if you're going to be looking at studying in the UK with the intention of working further down the line, I think my advice is to think about it quite carefully, but keep your options open. Keep your options open. Think more about yourself in terms of what do you want to achieve out of this as well. So I guess the purpose of this video is not to discourage you in any way if you want to come to the United Kingdom to kind of work and study, but just to say, keep your options open. Keep your options open. The intent of the UK government is the intent of the UK government, but the UK Home Office and immigration policy is quite notorious for evolving very, very rapidly. Maybe not too quickly in the short term for those who come to study a master's degree for 1 year. But if you're studying a 3-year bachelor's degree or a 3-year bachelor's degree with a foundation year in 4 years, in the United Kingdom, a lot can change. I mean, you've seen how many sort of political changes to political leadership that we've had over the last couple of years, I think since 2016 alone. And each leader or each party will come into power with its own idea of what policy direction for government should look like as well. So it's something that people need to really think carefully about before jumping into it as well. So this is the point I was trying to make. I will try to come on and talk about these issues from time to time. I'm more than happy for people to ask me questions. I realize, I know a lot about the things that happen in the UK, but I don't tend to kind of share them. So this could be a really good opportunity to try and tackle some of these kind of burning issues and burning questions that people might have. I'll read through your comments and I'll be happy to answer them. But otherwise, thank you for kind of listening into my first video, and please feel free to ask any questions, and I will hopefully upload again shortly. Thank you very much, and just before you go, don't forget to click and subscribe. I'll try and push as much of this content, as much of my knowledge and my understanding of what's going on over the next sort of few weeks. Thank you very much. Thank you.